Childhood abuse is the bane of society. My name is Marcel Elvers, author of the book JonBenet, The Final Chapter. Please like my channel. Above all, share and subscribe. Save videos to your playlist. Nola Brown, Canadian poet extraordinaire, explains in her poem the consequences of childhood abuse. Through the veil peeks the recipient of the lie. Out of darkness of blame and shame, carrying the heaviness of why? The following is the author's note as written by Marcel Elvers in his book JonBenet, The Final Chapter. The adults taking choice away from children who do not even realize they have a choice infuriates me. The most vulnerable age group is age 3 through 8. And this is when the vast majority of sexual abuse starts. A child losing their basic rights at an early age learns to see themselves as objects, unwanted and unloved. The statistics on child molestation and sexual abuse are staggering. Research has shown about 60% of girls and 40% of boys are molested, while about 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 12.5 boys are sexually abused before age 18. The abuser is 95% of the time someone they know and trust, with 90% of the perpetrators being male. A 6-year-old was sexually abused and she left her body to escape the pain. At age 16, she was married against her will to a 35-year-old man. She moved to the United States to get away from her family. Her erratic and demonstrative behavior was an ill attempt to hide her pain. A 5-year-old girl was raped by her stepbrother. She had an out-of-body experience as well and saw 2 hands coming from the sky comforting her. Her relationship with God was permanently established at that moment. A young girl was physically, emotionally, and sexually abused from age 5 through 16. She had multiple out-of-body experiences, including floating around and being abducted. Next to the abuse and out-of-body experiences, these women have the phrase, "Sometimes I do not know whether I am dreaming or whether it is real," in common. The abuse typically continues into their teenage years until the moment he or she finds the courage to take their power back. And some, in utter desperation, do so with a gun. They were led to the edge of unthinkable violence, experienced another out-of-body event, lost control, and acted on it. They learned early to separate mind and body to negate the pain they were going through. Their ability to recall this stress reaction may become habitual, with their mind being an outsider looking in and their bodies on autopilot. In such instances, they are purely driven by self-preservation instinct. It is no surprise that adults who experienced severe childhood abuse feel unsure of what they are capable of. They have been on the edge. They know what they can do, and with their minds critically detached, do not feel they are in control. The vast majority become law-abiding citizens and do not wish to harm. They typically live in fear that they may overstep boundaries again in stressful situations, knowing they may lose control. Some others are unable to control their impulses and become serial offenders. The worst consequence of childhood abuse is psychological. The inability to ward off psychological intrusions, being dependent on an individual you know and trust, damages our self-image and self-worth. The realization we are vulnerable and at risk imprints the need to self-protect. Chronic victimization impacts our self-concept negatively. An unsuspecting child placed their trust in adults, and being betrayed is a ramification for a lifetime of self-doubt, a false personal narrative, and a misconstrued worldview. They learn to not rely on others and shield their heart from betrayal and disappointment. They may not develop the full range of human emotions, making it difficult to function in the world. Their negative internal dialogue is a constant. I am not worthy, I do not matter, and I am unlovable. And worse, I do not belong. Extreme independence is a trauma response as a result of significant trust issues. The constant fear, enforced by perceived threats, is a mental trap. That fear closed doors, and with every passing year, more doors are closed until nobody is allowed entry. A scarred and broken heart builds an impenetrable wall where nothing is let in, not even unconditional love and appreciation. Severe sexual, physical, and emotional abuse stunts emotional growth and often halts at the age where the emotional impact was the strongest. Sexual abuse steals the sense you own your body and feels like I am valued for my physical being and not for who I am. Violation of our body develops a heightened sense of vulnerability, while the lack of appreciation for who we are invalidates us. They are guarded and forced to live in the moment, ready to react to real or perceived threats. Severely abused children are hypervigilant and perpetually in fight or flight mode. Eventually, their adulthood behavior reflects the environment they once lived in. Past chaos creates future chaos. Emotional dysregulation with an unstable self-image is often the end product. Children believe their circumstances are their choices and cannot fathom an abuser, protector, a cult leader, or a provider normalized repulsive behaviors. As teens, they are detached from acceptable social standards, feel different, and believe they do not belong. As adults, they remain suspicious and apprehensive about mundane situations in anticipations of threats and chaos. Abused children may not figure out how to cope with their past and punish someone in the present. intimates, partners, lovers, and those they are most comfortable with are often the target. They lash out against the world instead of facing their abuser and take their power back. Unresolved emotional issues tend to linger on and may exacerbate a downslide into mental illness. In severe cases, they may shut down their emotions, become socially isolated, and comfortably numb. Some resort to self-harm and risk-taking, like cutting and thrill-seeking, just to feel something. In the end, they repress their issues, suffer in silence, and project their pain into the world. Fear feeds cognitive distortions, permitting them to focus on and judge behavior instead of intent. Preoccupied with the expectation of being harmed, they live in the moment and do not appreciate the positive intentions of others. A fluctuating self-image allows for dramatic shifts in relationships, personal values, and goals. Self-protection evolves into keeping others at bay and pushing them away. The most mundane social situations are scrutinized and may trigger anxiety. Unexpected and unreasonable outbursts expose their struggle to trust and intrapsychic turmoil. Poor impulse control develops into violating other people's rights. They tend to be blind to the emotional impact they have on others and are oblivious to forcing others to go through their trauma with them. The now habitual, maladaptive, and obsessive-compulsive behavior turns pathological and becomes a way of life. In worst-case scenario, emotional dysregulation and poor impulse control progress into disruptive relationships with secondary trauma as a consequence. Their suspicious nature evolves into intense and unstable relationships marked by vacillation between over-involvement and dismissal of an intimate. In these cases, their childhood abuse is easily recognized, as their internal dialogue is expressed through major shifts in behavioral expression. They may reject genuine love and appreciation. To feel safe, they return to what they are familiar with, being on guard, anticipating danger, and self-destructive behaviors. They punish their environment and feel that they control. However, they only project their pain onto others and force them to live through their pain with them. The rejection of kindness and love becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I am unloved, unwanted, I am an object. They ask themselves, why would anyone love me? Sadly, true love and appreciation remains a foreign concept for them. An abused and exploited child all too often receives a lifelong sentence with intrapsychic turmoil, interpersonal conflict, and deprivation. This way, the abuser's charade is passed on to the next generation by doing to others what was done to them. This is why I do not ask myself, why are you this way? I ask myself instead, why would you not be this way? We need to keep in mind that it takes a village to raise a child, and equally, it takes a village to conceal abuse. It is no wonder child abuse angers me to no end, as I have been, like countless others on the receiving end of that very mistrust, ominous fabrication, and gaslighting. Childhood abuse has a major and, above all, lasting effect on society as a whole. The greatest gift a parent can give a child is self-worth. A child needs to learn to make sound, independent choices. Nurturance gives a child personal value, affection, and reassurance, while guidance provides direction, structure, and discipline. Parents determine the quality of future generations and societies. In sum, we all have a cross to carry. Be kind, be relevant. I dedicate this book to childhood abuse survivors and thrivers. You are heard, you are seen, and you are acknowledged. You were wronged, betrayed, and the blame lies squarely with the adults in the room. I wish to empower you by acknowledging that, yes, you are enough.